Continuing our story, we have Jazz and Bumblebee taking on Optimus Prime and Megatron. Basically, it's not looking too good for our Autobot comrades here, as they're facing a corrupted Optimus Prime and an equally as corrupted, or basically a willing participant, Megatron. All right. Bumblebee puts up the best fight he can against Optimus. Basically, I would have to say the fight goes just about the same way as the last night. Meanwhile, Megatron is pretty much struggling with Jazz here. Yeah, actually struggling. Because you have to remember, Jazz has taken the form of a much stronger beast. What's it called? Oh, the Isosaurus. Yep. Jazz is actually using his agility, his reflexes, and his newfound strength to basically hit Megatron like a pinball. But this is when he notices Infernicus is just simply too focused on Optimus and Bumblebee's fight. This is when he decides to disarm Megatron and then bull rushes towards Infernicus, and as he's not looking, Quintessa warns him only slightly too late. This is where Jazz pretty much is able to jump on top of him, pretty much get on his back, and plunges the sword right through his head like Optimus Prime did in the last night. Quintessa fires at him, but Jazz uses that moment to flip over with the sword and pretty much disassembled Infernicus and the rest of the... Sorry, I guess you can disassemble Infernicus on his components. This is when the components run at him and they get sliced up, or basically decapitated like they did in the last night. This is where we go back to Optimus and Bumblebee, and these two are, again, going through their fight here. It then gets to the point where Optimus gets the upper hand on Bumblebee, and yeah, he's about to kill him. He actually has the Star Saber sword this time, and Bumblebee really can't do anything about it. Prime's about to kill him, or at least he thinks, until he gets tail whipped by Jazz in his Isosaurus form. Now, I would definitely say it looks pretty much like this, as this is probably the best design the Isosaurus has ever had here. And he stands pretty much in front of both Optimus and Optimus and Megatron, getting ready for a fight. This is where we actually pick up with Hound, and Hound is trying to contact Jazz the best he can here, as pretty much the troops are being overwhelmed. He tells Jazz that everyone is down. However, Jazz is simply not responding, as he's a little caught up in the fight. However, the moment the fight breaks back, he's able to get the upper hand. In the fight, he does contact Hound and tell him to hold on. He's hoping that reinforcements arrive. Hound says, reinforcements, what do you mean? How could, reinforcements arrive? Jazz says he's hoping that Jury is doing, her part of it as well, and is actually trying to help them out here. And this is where we pick up in a plane, actually, pretty similar to Stratosphere. It's actually pretty big, and it seems to be, it has this insignia on it. We then pick up back on the battlefield, where Cheetor is pretty much talking to Crosshair, saying that he and Rhinox can't get close here, however, they were still able to evacuate Strafe and Air Razor behind, from enemy lines. Crosshair says good and still lays into the Decepticons the best he can here. However, he says it's not looking too hopeful. And this is where Cheetor pretty much tells him that he shouldn't, give up hope on here. There's always a way for this, to happen, for the things to turn around, right? And this is where we see Jory jump down and tell her team to attack. But what is she talking about? Jury then tells everyone to pretty much take cover and then asks Primo where's Jazz. But as her and Primo are talking, a storm appears above them. And she says, give it everything you got, Jane. And this is where we see Jane Foster Thor pretty much rain down the God Storm. Alright, the Mother Storm, if you will. I think it's called the God Storm, but Jane rains down a ton of lightning, incinerating massive amounts of Decepticon troops here. Jane then tells her partner, are you ready? And this is where we see feedback. Yeah, I got y'all. Yeah, y'all know. Y'all know what time it is. We got the human reinforcements here. And, obviously, Ben Tennyson is hit with a massive amount of electricity. And using feedback, he hits all these Decepticons with a final flash. And Jory then decapitates one that simply goes flying at her. And this is when, again, she goes right back to Primal and addresses where's Jazz. And this is where they see Optimus and Megatron walking out of the chamber area, holding an unconscious Jazz and Bumblebee. Jury looks in absolute horror as the two are thrown at their feet, and Megatron then tells his troops to stand down. So Jury tells the same to both Ben and Jane. And this is where Quintessa appears. She then offers them a deal. They could all live, they could all serve her, become more powerful. All they have to do is just let this planet die. This is when Optimus Primal immediately tells them that they aren't going to do that no time soon. They're not even, they're not going to be deceived by her any longer. And this is when Jury also notes that this planet is worth protecting, and even the Autobots have seen that. Sure, humanity has messed up a bunch of times, but she says they've seen the worth of humanity. To which Quintessa says, you have no idea what's really going on here. You have no idea what your planet is about. But nevertheless, Nemesis kill her. And this is when Optimus walks at her with his star saber raised, about to come down at her. Everyone looks in shock and horror, but this is when he actually gets tackled by Jazz. Jazz tackles him and then, using his Isosaurus form, rams him off the platform, off of the Cybertronian platform. However, Optimus grabs him and they both plummet down, and Jury hollers, screaming Jazz's name, as they both fall down and they both tumble, hitting just about everything you could imagine on there. And they both land in a swamp-like area, both badly damaged. Optimus looks at his fallen comrade as he can barely move himself and tells him, you betrayed me. Jazz simply laughs, albeit a little injured, as he's able to prop himself up against one of the Cybertronian pillars and tells Optimus he would never do that. He then reminds Optimus of all they've been through, all the things they've done together, how they've been with each other for years and years on end, how how they've pretty much fought together. The time in Mission City where he almost died. Megatron almost crushed his spark, but Optimus was there to save him. How they fought the Decepticons in the forest battle. How they lost so many good friends. Ironhide, Ratchet, Mirage, Sideswipe, Jolt, Skids, Mudflap. They lost everyone they held dear. But through it all, they still kept each other. And this is where Megatron pretty much comes down like he did last night with this super cool intro. And he readies his fusion cannon to kill Jazz. And this is when Jazz tells him he would never betray his closest friend. Megatron is prepared to fire his fusion cannon, telling him what weak words. Prime is ours now. But unfortunately for Megatron, that is not true. Prime breaks out of his control and begins to fight Megatron. They both fight each other hard. It's basically kind of like the last night fight, but it's a bit more like the first movie fight, except it's much closer. Kind of like a Sentinel Prime versus Optimus type scenario, except, they don't need to jump Sentinel here. But needless to say here, this is a very, very heated match between the two, hitting each other with everything they have. They're full on injuring each other at this point here. The Star Saber versus Megatron's, I think the Dark Star Saber, or Dark Saber if you will. Not sure what his sword was called in the last night, so please let me know in the comment section if you guys know. And these two straight up wail on each other ferociously. Like, it's just a no holds barred type of battle. Meanwhile, Jury actually appears with Jet Ray in front of the injured Jazz, to which Jet Ray, properly introduces himself as, obviously, Ben Tennyson himself, to which Jazz also introduces himself as Optimus Prime's first lieutenant. Jury then asks Ben, could he actually fix him? Is it too late to save him? And this is when Ben turns into gray matter and actually hops onto Jazz. Even goes inside of one of his open wounds and pretty much explores him a little bit. He says he can fix him, and as he's exploring, he discovers a hydration card. And he asks Jazz, what's this? And this is when Jazz pretty much explains that this was from one of the KSI bases that he raided over the years, where he got his, well, at least some form of his payback, and that it belonged to the Autobot Sea Spray, who was able to manipulate water pretty well. causing tornadoes, hurricanes, even making water so hard it could cut through steel. And this is when Gray Matter says, well, I hope you're ready. I'm going to have to fix you up, and we're going to make sure you're able to use this. This is when he turns into Jury Rig, and he says this might hurt a little, to which Jury Rig fixes him up, at least to a degree, so that he can then use Upgrade and then begins to fully merge and mold everything around him. Pretty much merge him together with all the upgraded parts he's fixed, or at least to, fix him up even better. And while this happening, Jory looks around as the water around her begins to erupt into geysers. These guys are so strong that they're actually tearing through the Cybertronian foundations, or at least Cybertron's foundations. And this is where we actually get Optimus Prime finally losing the fight to Megatron, as he's able to finally pin him down like he did in the last night. However, this is when the water begins to swirl around Megatron, pulling him forward, pulling him away from Optimus. And he gets caught in a vortex, and he spins, and then he collapses, fully knocked out, fully unconscious. And it's amazing. Even Optimus wonders what's happening. And this is when Jazz tells him right now they have more important things to do, but just to let him know, he's now got Sea Spray's powers. And this is when Optimus and Jazz pretty much, bro hug, get their friendship back together. And Optimus then says, let's save Earth. So basically, we got the OG Optimus Prime back. We have Optimus and Jazz repairing their relationship, and now Jazz has hydrokinesis thanks to the Autobot Sea Spray. Please comment down below, like and subscribe and share with your friends. This is Legendary Grimlock, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.